Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of my Week in Perfume, the series where I tell you what I wore every day of the week, tell you about each individual fragrance. Today, man, I wore some great stuff. Not only today, but for the entire week. Some underrated amouages, some absolute unicorns and gems. Honestly, I'm glad I have my collection in a place where every week is like just a phenomenal week, in my opinion. So, without further ado, let's get into the first fragrance I wore this week. Of course, if you enjoy the channel, drop a like, hit the sub button. That really does help the channel out. Thank you guys for hitting 3,500 subs. Absolutely nuts. Been having a ton of fun just doing this channel on the side from my main channel. But on Monday last week, I wore Amouage Dia Man. This is what I'm talking about with underrated amouage. You don't really ever hear about Dia. You hear about Reflection and Interlude and Jubilation and all the other really important uh, sort of flagship releases for the brand. Dia is kind of like the least amouage in my opinion. Mo from the channel Sense for Thoughts, I really agree with what he said about this fragrance. This is kind of like a Guerlain in an amouage bottle because this comes off as very French, very understated, very elegant. Um, it's a beautiful, sort of like soft floral vetiver fragrance. It has this beautiful hint of sweetness. The floral in here comes off as, you ever like walk up to a flower, but you have to get very, very close to smell it? That's kind of how the florals come across in here. It's very, very understated. Um, Also, there's something earthy about it. That would be the vetiver. It's not like Chanel Sycamore vetiver though. Everything in here is very well tailored and blended, just extremely well. So really like Dia. Have to spray quite a lot to get a lot of performance out of it. Even if you spray a ton, I mean, it only lasts about 4 or 5 hours. So if you're looking for like a really understated sort of work like office fragrance, Dia would be really great. All right, on Tuesday, I wore my vintage bottle of Abbey Rouge by Guerlain. This is the Eau de Toilette. This is one of the most famous masculine perfumes released ever for a reason, especially in Europe. Um, Abbey Rouge is one of those fragrances where if you want something timeless, Abbey Rouge really does come up in my mind as one of my suggestions. And if you want a great fragrance you can wear on the daily, no matter what, you can find Abbey Rouge for very, very cheap on discounters. You can find it for probably $50, $60. Um, and it's one of the best perfumes you'll ever own. I promise. It's fantastic. People call it sort of like the masculine Shalimar. They're definitely connected in terms of DNA. You have that Guerlain in there. Um, Sort of starts off with this lemony, powdery, citrusy sort of vibe. I get a little hint of carnation, which is like this dry, spicy floral in there. But the star of the show is really the balance between the citrusy opening and the vanilla and leather in the base. It's just such a well done fragrance. Next up on Wednesday, I wore a bit of a weird one. This is Spoturno L'Âme de Phenix. Paterno is a relatively new brand. I think they only launched in maybe the tail end of 2042, 2024, or maybe in 2025. Um, but the reason why I was interested in this brand is because Christopher Sheldrake, who's my favorite perfumer, perfumed every single one of these fragrances. And Christopher Sheldrake rarely does work outside of Serge Lutens and Chanel. So whenever he does anything, I'm going to be all over it, okay? I'm at least going to try it. This is basically Christopher Sheldrake does an Oriental Fougere. And specifically, sort of the Dior Sauvage Elixir Oriental Fougere DNA, but just done to, you know, the 5 times the quality level and honestly 5 times the class. The problem I have with Dior Sauvage Elixir is while it's a pretty good fragrance, it's just too damn strong. I used to own it. One spray will legit fill a room. 2 sprays will alert everyone to your presence within like a square mile. Okay. Spoturno L'Âme de Phenix takes that Oriental Fougere DNA, the spicy sort of lavender fougere thing, and it just elevates it. It really elevates it. It doesn't really have great longevity, but I spray a ton of it, as you can see, man. I've only had it for a little bit, and I'm already putting a dent in it. This is a 60 ml bottle, so probably used about 3 to 5 ml of it already. Um, I get a lot of spices in this fragrance. That's kind of what an Oriental Fougere is. It's more of a spicy, sometimes slightly gourmand leaning take on a Fougere. Beautiful lavender in here. I get a lot of cinnamon. It's just a fantastic, warm, but not unwearable fragrance. This is you could wear this daily easily as well. Um, just comes off as really, really well done. The price is kind of insane though. I have to be honest. I think Spoturno, I mean, they push. Man, I think it was over $300. So yeah, you kind of have to be a fan of Christopher Sheldrake to even consider buying any of those fragrances. Okay, next up on Thursday, I wore another underrated Amouage. This is Amouage Journey Man in the sort of red and gold Iron Man bottle, I like to call it. This is great, guys. Wow, yeah. So this is the best example of a hot, spicy fragrance I've ever smelled. Very particular Sichuan pepper note in this that comes across as extremely realistic, like you're cooking with that Sichuan pepper. It's very red smelling. It's very hot. It's very realistic. There's also a big cypriol note in here. So if you don't like cypriol, maybe steer clear. However, I think this is one of the best cypriol fragrances I've ever smelled. I know a lot of people list Frederick Malle Promise up there as like one of the best cypriol notes. I hate Promise. I really can't stand it. This I really enjoy. It also has this very distinct sort of citrusy top as well, combined with that hot spicy Sichuan pepper. I believe there's also black pepper in here, so if you don't like spicy fragrances, steer clear of Journey Man. The bottle is kind of a warning with that color. It's bright red for a reason. Um, so love Journey Man. Definitely try that out. Okay, now on Friday, I already did an unboxing video for this. So if you haven't seen it, I'll link it in the description. This is an absolute unicorn, and I'm so happy to have it. I'm still getting to know it. I did an unboxing and first impressions video. This is another Christopher Sheldrake collaboration. This is Roberto Greco Rauque. This is a unicorn. Only 500 bottles made of this. Another collaboration with Christopher Sheldrake and another brand. Except Roberto Greco, he's more of like just a person that has a perfume brand rather than a perfume brand owner that does it for money, if that makes sense. Roberto Greco is one of those people that's into perfume for perfume. And if he has the opportunity to do something cool with a perfumer he really likes, that is what he goes for. I believe Roberto Greco is a photographer, and you'll see in the unboxing video alongside this fragrance, there's a ton of photographs that go with it, a ton of stories. It sort of details the entire production process of the perfume. So, in terms of what Rauque smells like, first of all, the name, it means, I guess, your voice going hoarse in French. It's literally pronounced Rauque, I think. um, the scent profile is very, very particular. This is a throwback, old school leather chypre. So it's a very horsey leather. It's sort of musky. The chypre element of it is really well done. When you spray it, you get this hint of sweetness that you really can't pin down. I think it comes from something listed in the fragrance notes, sweet acacia absolute, but I also believe it comes from the narcissus note or I can't remember all the notes right now, but there's something else in there that gives it this slight sort of apricot floral sweetness in the top. As it dries down, it becomes this beautiful green, horsey leather, slightly animalic, slightly musky, saddle smelling leather. Very old school, very particular, but so happy to have a bottle of it. There was only 500 ever made. Apparently, they're never making it again. And, for Christopher Sheldrake to do a limited edition in that sense is extremely unusual, which is why people search for this perfume so much. All right, after that, I wore another one of my absolute favorite perfumes ever. This is the private blend version of Tom Ford Beau de Jour. One of the only fragrances I ever bought a backup bottle of. This is discontinued in this format. I think the signature line version might be discontinued. I have to check actually. Um, but this is just for me. This is one of the best fougere fragrances ever made. This is another throwback fragrance. Definitely, that David off Zeno style fougere. Big lavender, big oak moss, big herbal touches, and big green patchouli. Like a real like hair on your chest sort of smell of a definitive masculine perfume, in my opinion. Ton of lavender in this fragrance. It's the lavender it's a lavender tonka bean patchouli combination that really makes this fragrance something special. The signature line version isn't as good as the private line in my opinion because they tone down that patchouli and it ruins the entire scent profile truly. Um so smooth. It's so suave. I think in an interview, Tom Ford said that that is his personal signature scent. So that's absolutely badass to know that. One of my absolute favorites of all time, Tom Ford Beau de Jour. If you ever get a chance to smell the private blend version, be careful because you'll quickly be out some money searching for a bottle. Um, and last but certainly not least, one of my favorite Amouages, guys. Spoiler, because I'm gonna do an Amouage ranking video. But this is very underrated as well. This is Amouage Sunshine Man. I love the bottle. I can't believe they discontinued this. It's still available, but only on the website. And I'll tell you guys some nerd information after I discuss the scent profile. So this is oh wow, this is an amazing combination of lavender, immortelle, and this very distinct sort of orange liqueur note in the top. It's this syrupy golden smell. Um, the orange liqueur note in the top is very realistic, very almost like a syrupy orange. The immortelle, if you don't know what it is, it's this sort of like some people get curry out of it, other people get this maple syrupy golden smell. For me, it's the latter. I get this beautiful golden hue, slightly syrupy, very slightly herbaceous combined with that lavender with that sort of sharp edge. It's a hard fragrance to describe, but if you've ever smelled Dior Eau Noir from their La Collection Privée, you'll be sort of familiar with that scent profile. It's another lavender immortelle. But in my opinion, Sunshine Man actually is way better than Dior Eau Noir, especially the modern stuff. The name of Sunshine Man is really interesting because a lot of people consider it to be actually a colder weather scent. I wear it in the spring because it's sort of that in between temperature. I used to wear it in the summer. In hindsight, that was probably a bad idea. Um, it is pretty sweet. There is vanilla in this fragrance as well, so I can see why people wouldn't wanna wear it in, like, the highest of heat, but I think it's absolutely phenomenal in that sort of in between weather seasons, the fall and the spring. Um, Now the nerd information. So I mentioned this is sorta kinda discontinued, but not really. You can still technically buy it on the Amouage website, but I personally inquired, about this, and Amouage got back to me and said they're basically just selling the last batch of it that they found. So they found a batch of Sunshine Man, and my bottle here is actually a Frankenstein bottle. So if you look at the text where it says Sunshine, that's the old font. The new bottles of Amouage, I'll just show you right here with Journeyman, the new bottles have this font. So that was strange. Someone pointed that out to me, one of my friends, and he was like, "Dude, your bottle has the old font. That's weird." But then you look closer on the batch code, it's actually an H batch. You can just see it right there, which this is a 2023 batch, but I bought this in 2025. So they really did find an old batch. And I guess one of the funniest things of all this is actually the wrong cap for Sunshine Man, but I bought this direct from Amouage. And the reason why I know this is the wrong cap is I believe it came with a green gemstone. This is, I believe, the cap for Decision, which was a new release. And the reason why I know it's a new cap is on the inside of the cap here. It has a crown. So this is 2023 Sunshine Man, packaged in a 2025 packaged with a 2025 cap that's also the wrong cap with old font in a new box. Go figure. I mean, I think it's pretty cool because getting something this weird direct from Amouage is certainly not something I've ever seen anywhere else. I've also seen bottles that have the name on the collar. Do you see how there's no name below the atomizer collar here, right about here? Amouage bottles used to have their names engraved there, but I've seen bottles where they have the name on the bottle there. You can see Dia, and they have the name on the collar. I don't know if that's real or not, but that's another sort of weird in between Frankenstein Amouage bottle. But that wraps up my week in perfume. It was a great week. Be sure to let me know your scent of the day in the comments section down below. Let me know if you enjoyed the video. If you did, be sure to hit the like button, hit the sub button, and I have some really interesting videos coming out, guys. Sampling a brand that turned out to be one of my worst nightmares. Horrible reactions to some fragrance in that some fragrances in that video that I think you guys will find pretty funny. I'm working every night to try to work on my Amouage ranking video. That video is going to be so hard for me to do because Amouage is I think, definitively my favorite brand. It's a big deal. It's a big deal, okay? I'm trying to take it real seriously. Every day the list changes. I don't know what the hell's going on. You know, you ask me one day what my favorites are, I'll say 5, and then the next day I'll say 5 others. It's a mess. I have to just sit down and just commit. So keep an eye out for cool videos on the channel, and I'll see you guys later.